In the past, the village beauty risked her life by taking off her outer clothes and jumping into the reservoir to save me, but I repaid her kindness with ingratitude, forcing her to marry me by using the excuse that she had intimate contact with me in the water. After we were married, when she was still weak and recovering from childbirth, I made her go into the icy river to catch fish for me. When she refused, I beat and kicked her, yet even so she never divorced me, always thinking about how we could make our life better together. Until the 6th month after she gave birth to our daughter, when I racked up high-interest gambling debts and planned to sell our daughter to pay them off. When Liu Ruyan heard about this, she finally lost all hope. She took our daughter, who was not even a year old, and jumped into the same reservoir where she once saved me. It was only after her death that I finally came to my senses, but by then it was far too late, in order to make up for what I owed Liu Ruyan in the past. Now, I am wealthy beyond measure, with countless beautiful women coming to me every day, but I turn them all away. At the same time, I spend vast amounts of money researching a time machine, with the sole desire to go back to the past and save that foolish girl, Liu Ruyan, who truly cared for me. Perhaps out of pity for me, when I was gravely ill and on the verge of death, I dreamed that I was using the time machine and returned to the past. When I opened my eyes again, I had actually gone back 30 years. Seeing Liu Ruyan, covered in bruises and trembling in the corner, I couldn't believe it. I rubbed my bloodshot eyes. After making sure I wasn't dreaming, I couldn't help but cry out in shock. "Wife, is it you?" As I rushed toward Liu Ruyan, she suddenly screamed intensely. Her hands and feet were in severe pain. "Get away, don't touch me!" Her voice was filled with anguish. Seeing her react like this, I stopped. I then remembered. Liu Ruyan borrowed money from her family for the child's rice porridge, but I, in a rage after being cornered by my uncle, snatched it to buy alcohol instead. Worse still, after coming home drunk, I had violently tormented her. Thinking of this, I cursed myself for how despicable I was in my previous life. Then, I raised my hand and slapped my face hard more than 10 times, blood instantly streaming from the corner of my mouth. Tears filled Liu Ruyan's eyes as she watched me. She let out a mocking laugh. She lost count of how many times this happened. Each time I sobered up, I knelt and cried, promising to change and slapping myself. But I never did. She endured my insults at home, but she couldn't bear seeing our daughter go hungry. Looking at my wife, so alive, I still found it hard to believe. The child's cries snapped me out of my thoughts. I couldn't just stand there staring anymore. I quickly dressed and comforted Liu Ruyan, who was silently shedding tears. "Wait here. I'll get something for our child to eat." I ran to the small shop at the village entrance. Living this life again, my body felt great. I ran all the way without getting out of breath. Old Huang, the shopkeeper, smiled, showing his yellow teeth. "More liquor? The same cheap stuff as last time?" In my previous life, I was worth billions and had achieved financial freedom. Buying a whole factory would have been nothing to me, but now I couldn't even scrape together coins for rice cereal. I had to shamefully ask for credit. "Uncle Huang, I need rice cereal for the child. I promise I'll pay you back tomorrow." Old Huang's cloudy eyes widened when he heard I wanted to buy on credit again. He couldn't help but sigh. What a tragedy. Liu Ruyan, that girl, she was the most famous educated youth in the area for miles around. Not only was she highly educated, but she was also as beautiful as a flower. Yet now, she had somehow ended up marrying this rascal in front of him. She went hungry herself, and worst of all, her child had to suffer too. Thinking of Liu Ruyan's pitiful fate, Old Huang didn't say another word. He simply took a bag of rice cereal from the shelf and handed it to me. With the rice cereal in hand, I thanked him gratefully and hurried back home without wasting a second. But as soon as I entered the yard, I heard the sound of a child crying from inside the house. I hurried into the house and said in a hoarse voice, "Honey, I brought back the rice cereal." Hearing my words, Liu Ruyan looked up and saw that I really had come back with the rice cereal. Instantly, she became wary, clutching the child tightly in her arms, her pale little face full of terror. "I'm warning you, don't you dare sell my daughter, or I'll die with you." Her voice was filled with desperate hysteria. I stood there stunned, vaguely remembering that this had indeed happened before. In my previous life, I had wanted to sell my daughter to a couple in town in their 40s who couldn't have children, just to get money for alcohol. Thinking of this, my heart ached as if it were bleeding. What terrible things have I done? I really don't deserve to live. I placed the rice cereal on the bed and choked out, "Ruyan, I was wrong. I'll never sell our daughter. Tomorrow, I'll find work." Confusion and disgust flashed in her eyes. She'd heard this all before. I got up and walked out of the yard. In my past life, she jumped into the reservoir with our daughter this month, tying stones to herself to ensure there was no escape. Just thinking about it makes me tremble all over. Fortunately, it's not too late yet. Everything can still be saved. As long as I can quickly earn some money and treat Liu Ruyan and our daughter better, she will surely regain hope in me and won't seek death again. But that's for later. Right now, our family has run out of food, so I need to find a way to get some meat to nourish Liu Ruyan and our daughter. Glancing at the back mountain at the south end of the village, my eyes lit up, and I immediately set off in that direction. If I remember correctly, there are a lot of pheasants on that mountain. In my previous life, because I was lazy, I would rather go hungry than go hunting in the mountains. But now I have to seize this opportunity, because pheasant soup. Not only is it especially nourishing for women and children, but it can also be sold at the market for money. In no time, I arrived at the back mountain. I pulled out the elastic band from the underwear I had taken and using a tree branch made a slingshot. After I became successful in my previous life, I developed a love for shooting sports and played with slingshots for a while. So now, returning to my younger days and using a slingshot to hunt doves, although I couldn't aim well at first, after a while I got the hang of it. Squatting in the grass for most of the day, I finally had some success. I shot a few doves and a big pheasant. Happily, I tied the game together, ready to carry it home. But in the next second, I suddenly realized something behind me was missing and I broke out in a cold sweat. What was going on? At that moment, I saw a flash of golden light from the safety amulet my wife had given me, which was always kept close to Liu Ruyan's heart. She only took it off and threw it by the reservoir when she jumped into the river to end her life. When I looked closely again, the amulet had disappeared. I couldn't help but reach out to touch it, and immediately, I entered a different space. After repeating this process several times, I realized that as long as I held the amulet, I could come and go freely. This made me incredibly happy. This must be what people call a storage space. With this, wouldn't getting rich be even easier? Ruyan, in this life, I will make sure you enjoy endless wealth and glory. Heading home, I saw the village had electricity, yet we still used kerosene lamps. I felt sorry for Ruyan living like this. Carrying my things, I went to the kitchen and quickly made turtle dove soup before dark. Soon, I brought a bowl to the main room and called, "Ruyan, time to eat. I made this for your recovery." After calling 3 times, she emerged from the bedroom and saw the generous portion of meat on the table. He didn't rush over, but just stood where he was, his eyes full of hatred and wariness as he glared at me. Looking at my wife, dressed in clothes covered with patches, I felt another wave of bitterness in my heart. In this era of scarcity, his looks were especially striking, but I was just a lousy designer who, after getting him, didn't cherish him at all, always hitting or scolding him. I knew he definitely couldn't accept my change all at once, and it was normal for him to be on guard against me. I could only slowly dispel the doubts in his heart. This couldn't be rushed, and as long as I was here, he definitely wouldn't pick up his chopsticks. I chuckled and said, "Ruyan, eat first, there's plenty more. Call me if you need more." Then I walked out. Liu Ruyan stood rooted, staring at the steaming pigeon soup with a sense of unreality. Was this a dream or his last meal? In the past, I always ate my fill first, leaving him only leftovers and pot-rinsing water. Though starving, he feared an ulterior motive and didn't dare eat. Walking out, he saw me hunched over a bowl slurping soup, a wild pheasant hanging at the kitchen door. He must have gone up the mountain to hunt, but how did he do it? I've never heard of his family being hunters. Although Liu Ruyan didn't know how I had caught the game, at least it wasn't stolen food, so he finally turned back to the main room, picked up the bowl, and began to eat carefully. Maybe it was because he hadn't eaten meat in a long time, but he accidentally ate too much and let out a satisfied burp. After the meal, under Liu Ruyan's puzzled gaze, I even took the initiative to wash all the dishes, which completely baffled him, since I had never done any housework at home before. After finishing up, I boiled another pot of water, filled a basin with hot water, and carried it into the room. "Ruyan, use this water to wipe yourself down," I said, putting down the basin. Ignoring Liu Ruyan's shocked gaze, I turned and left. Sitting at the doorway, I looked at the stars and planned how to earn money tomorrow. Winter here hits -20 degrees, so my wife and child need new cotton clothes and thicker quilts to survive the cold. When the bathing sound stopped, I went inside to change her water. Startled and not yet dressed, Liu Ruyan recoiled in fear. "Don't come over here," she cried. Cursing my past behavior, I realized her emotional wounds run deep. I must prove my change through my actions from now on, doing my absolute best to heal the pain she has suffered. "Wife, I just came in to change your bathwater. I promise I won't do anything else, so don't keep backing away or you might fall." I picked up the basin and walked out. Liu Ruyan ignored me, but as soon as I left, she quickly got dressed. I sat in the courtyard, thinking about how to get rich quickly. I remembered an experience from my previous life. For a time, outsiders always wanted to go into the mountains but would get lost. They found me, and I was happy to get paid just for leading the way. Those people frequently collected things deep in the mountains. Back then, I had no idea what those things under the grass were. I just thought city folks like Xuanzang had too much time. Looking back, I realize how ignorant I was. Though those people haven't appeared in this life yet, it's the perfect chance for me to dig them up and sell them. Having seen their methods in my past life, I know how to collect those stones and herbs. Energized, I tied a torch, grabbed some hose, and ignoring the night's danger, ran into the mountains. After gathering the herbs and heading down, I actually stumbled upon a civet cat's nest. I quickly slit their throats and skinned them, then put them into my storage space. Early the next morning, I carried 2 baskets to town, took out the civet meat and skins, and set up a stall in a busy area. To my surprise, the civets were quite popular. Within moments, a few old ladies had bought them all. I packed up and left, taking the 1 or 2 yuan I made from selling the civets, and brought the large batch of herbs I'd gathered yesterday to the biggest, oldest pharmacy in town. When I took out the goods, the old man behind the thick glasses stared in amazement. He carefully took the herbs from me and examined them closely in the sunlight. Even though 2 stems were broken, they were still extraordinary. The old man suppressed his excitement, put on a shrewd smile, and offered me a price, saying, "Young man, how about this much?" When I saw the price he quoted, I immediately frowned, comparing it to the price I had in mind. It wasn't far off, but he was clearly trying to take advantage, thinking I was a naive outsider. Seeing that, I started to take my goods back. The old man reacted quickly, pressing down on my hand. "Young man, don't be hasty. If you're not satisfied, we can negotiate." He saw the calmness in my eyes, unusual for my age, then steeled himself and offered a price that clearly pained him. After all, such treasures are rare. He'd rarely seen such quality in all his years at the pharmacy. "Young man, 60 yuan is my highest offer." I knew that even though I didn't know much about medicinal herbs, my intuition told me that what I had was worth far more than that price. But I was in urgent need of money. The county town was still 80 kilometers away, and there were no more buses that day. I'd have to wait until tomorrow. But my wife and daughter at home couldn't wait any longer. If I delayed too long, what would I do if my wife and child became malnourished from hunger? After weighing my options for a moment, I spoke slowly. "All right, deal." In an era when an average worker's monthly salary was only 30 yuan, 61 was a considerable sum. After getting the money, I didn't rush home. Instead, I first went to buy some flour coupons, postage stamps, and meat coupons, all of which I bought from people engaged in speculative trading. After all, at this time, ration coupons were even more valuable than money. After buying some powdered milk and pork, I also bought the most fashionable outerwear and skirt for women at the time. With Liu Ruyan's delicate beauty, she would definitely look stunning in them. What woman doesn't love to look good? Maybe if Liu Ruyan put on this skirt and felt happy, she wouldn't be so resentful toward me. On my way home, I even made a special trip to find a 70-year-old hunter. I gave him a pile of food in exchange for his precious hunting rifle. In an era when you needed coupons just to eat meat, if you wanted to enjoy meat freely, you had to rely on your own efforts to provide for yourself. When I got home, I rushed to the kitchen to cook for Liu Ruyan and her daughter. At dusk, Liu Ruyan returned carrying her daughter and some cornbread. Stepping into the yard, she smelled meat from the kitchen. Meat again. She watched coldly from the door. Since sobering up yesterday, she seemed possessed. My behavior made her feel uneasy. Because she saw there was meat to eat again, and I seemed to be in a particularly good mood. Liu Ruyan wasn't sure if I had won some money gambling. After all, whenever I won even just 80 cents in the past, I'd be just as happy as I am now, like I'd eaten something amazing. But if I lost, I'd drink, then take it out on her in the bedroom, and after that, I'd even hit her, treating her like a punching bag. Liu Ruyan had already been busy all day today. Not only was she exhausted, but now she was so hungry her stomach was sticking to her back and her legs were shaking. She couldn't be bothered to guess why I was acting this way, so she just went inside, put the cornbread buns away, and laid the sleeping child on the bed. But when she turned around, she saw a can of formula sitting on the battered old table. In that instant, blood rushed to her head. She ran out of the bedroom, into the kitchen, and slapped me across the face. I was holding a plate of freshly stir-fried civet meat, and the slap caught me off guard. Before I could even ask her what was wrong, I saw Liu Ruyan's eyes brimming with aggrieved tears. I quickly turned around and set the civet meat down on the stove, wanting to reach out and wipe away her tears, but as I raised my hand, she took 2 steps back, her eyes filled with disgust, so I could only withdraw my hand. At a loss, I asked, "Honey, what's wrong? What did I do wrong? Just tell me and I'll change, okay? You're still breastfeeding. Please don't get yourself so upset." Liu Ruyan's rosy lips trembled as she questioned me in despair and grievance. "Did you go to my house again to threaten my mom for money? Why are you so— Only then did I remember that in my previous life, before I became this kind, I had indeed threatened my mother-in-law with a knife to get money from her. I immediately understood why Liu Ruyan was so emotional at this moment. I quickly denied it, saying, "I really didn't, Ruyan." But Liu Ruyan didn't believe me at all. "If you didn't, then where did you get the money to buy formula? You think I don't know how rare formula is?" I hurried to explain. "That's money I earned myself." And afraid she wouldn't believe me, I quickly reached for the underwear where I kept my money. Seeing my reaction, Liu Ruyan got even angrier. "At a time like this, you're still thinking about that?" Then crying, she came forward and gave me another hard slap across the face. This slap left me with a bitter smile. I knew Liu Ruyan had misunderstood. I quickly explained, "Honey, I wasn't thinking about that. I was just getting something out." As I spoke, I reached into my underwear. I pulled out 5 big bills from my underwear. Seeing the 500 yuan I stuffed into her hand, Liu Ruyan felt the world spinning and could barely stand. When I saw my wife about to fall, I quickly reached out to support her, but she shoved me away hard. She just couldn't believe that someone as lazy and idle as me could earn so much money in a single day. It had to be stolen from somewhere. Noticing that my wife didn't believe a word I said and that her gaze was growing darker and more disappointed, I hurriedly tried to explain, flustered. "Last night, I went up the mountain and picked some things. I sold them and made this money. All of this is from selling dendrobium. I had 6 big bills in total, but I spent 1 on food and oil coupon, so this is all that's left." When she heard the word dendrobium, a glimmer finally returned to Liu Ruyan's eyes. Dendrobium is valuable, but it grows deep in mountains and is hard to find. If found, it sells for quite a bit. Thinking of this, Liu Ruyan felt uncertain. Had she really wronged him?